From the nation's capital, this is the Fly Fishing Consultant Podcast with your host, Rob Snowhite.
When we're fishing. All right, so you're local, you born and raised here?
Yep, I grew up in Pulaski, which is basically the hub of salmon fishing in upstate New York. One of the premier salmon fisheries on the East Coast.
Fish producing machine in here.
It is. The New York State DEC stocks king salmon, which is Chinook salmon, and coho salmon to help with the bait fish population in Lake Ontario.
All the alewives that came in when they opened up the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Alewives and smelt. Back in the 80s when I moved here, the smelt population was so great in this river that the New York State Park System was spending millions of dollars a year cleaning up the beaches because all the dead smelt and alewives.
And they bulldoze them?
Yeah, they basically bulldoze them at the state parks to clean up the beaches so that people wanted to go there.
There must have been some fat raccoons just digesting around.
It was. You know what though? Back in the 80s, you could walk down to the shores of Lake Ontario and dip net literally thousands of 5-gallon buckets full of smelt, and they're delicious. The alewives are invasive species, so I've never really, can't say I've eaten them, but the smelt are good. If you ever get a smelt dinner opportunity, I would take it up.
That's what the Atlantics, that's what they feed on, right?
Yes.
All right, so you lived up here and fished your whole life. I know they've been cleaning up sort of some of the legalities of fishing on the river, but how is the populations and the environment? Is it getting better?
The populations they're great. I mean, the DEC survey last year of the fish that were returning, 50% of the fish that returned were naturally spawned, meaning they didn't go to the Salmon River fish hatchery to have their eggs harvested where they were going to do their spawning, which is phenomenal. I mean, there's so many tributaries and little creeks off of this lake that are producing fish that it's amazing, honestly.
So these little creeks like the one we're on that we're not going to name.
That's perfect. We'll keep it anonymous.
We got our calories burnt walking in here today, but it's worth it.
Yes.
Jason's working on removing an oak fish from his fly.
We got the leaf hatch going on today, which has been gradual. So he's fortunate that it's not every cast.
So the stories the last couple of years have been that the salmon numbers are down, but this year they were like way up.
This year we had a great return. It was consistent from mid to end of September. We were getting great runs of Chinooks and good runs of cohos as well. In the last couple years, it's been spotty. You know, it's been a late run. You were here 2 years ago, and the second week of November.
This is the latest I've been up. So yeah, first week of November a couple years ago.
And generally, like Columbus Day is the height of the run. Regardless of any year, that's when most of the fish come. And you were here 2 weeks after Columbus Day, and we're catching females ready to spawn upriver from the hatchery doing your Project Healing Waters event.
Right.
Which is great. And we're still I just saw fresh salmon when we got here.
Yeah. So what about the steelhead? It seems like this week something's been off. Is it the sunlight, air pressure, the change in the temp?
Man,
just fish being fish.
That's a question I don't have the knowledge to answer, because historically, when the salmon come in and then the water cools down, the steelhead are right behind them, and it's, I don't want to say guaranteed because nothing in life is guaranteed, but usually it's guaranteed if you come up sometime after Columbus Day, a couple weeks after Columbus Day, you're going to catch steelhead. And this year it's been less than spectacular. Last year we had a great steelhead run in October and November. The winter was slow. In the spring, picked up because that's when the steelhead spawn. That's when they come up the river to spawn. But
and they're doing natural reproduction as well.
A lot of natural reproduction. They also come back to the hatchery because they spawn them in the hatchery. It was just I don't know. It's a little disconcerting, but we'll see what the spring brings. Hopefully, we have another push before.
You didn't have much snow last year, so I heard we got probably as much as you did, and most of that was in one weekend for us.
Yeah, we generally get about 360 inches. That's our average for where we're at. And
is that a bump?
All right.
He's like the master at high sticking. Watch him.
That's
he can do it all day.
That is the best method to catch steelhead. It really is.
I lose blood in my arms. Like tying a bow tie, my arms always go numb.
It's a lot. You gotta hold your rod up high and just wait for it to stop, basically, because most of the time they're hitting like rainbow trout where it's a light bite. It'll just stop. Sometimes they hammer it, but for the most part, you think you're snagged on a rock and there's a fish.
Starts moving.
Yep, that rock's moving this time.
So how many guide trips were you doing during the salmon run?
I usually do about 10 to 20, depending on the business. The internet is the worst thing to happen to fishing because people see the reports on the internet. Oh, you know what? We had a terrible year last year, even though they may have come up or may not have come up. I report fish when I catch them, and I don't fish all the time.
Where can we see those reports?
Either on DirtyBillsGuideService.com. That's Dirty Bill's Guide Service. Service is spelled SVC.com. Instagram is the same name, at Dirty Bill's Guide Service. Twitter is dirty_bills, because Dirty Bill's Guide Service is too long. And Facebook too, but you just Google Dirty Bill's Guide Service and I'll come up.
There you go. How often are you getting out?
I try and get out a couple times a week, regardless if I have trips or not. Now I gave up guiding for benefits and retirement. I didn't give it up, but the retirements from Obamacare are terrible.
So you're up in Altmar. Do people think that the fly zone means it's the only place you can fly fish? Because we've been hiking today and yesterday, and you can get stretches to yourself. Instead of being shoulder to shoulder.
When the fishing is slow, the steelhead season's been slow, but people will generally go close to the parking lots.
Because it's easy?
It's very easy, and usually with the parking lots, there's a lot of good fishing very close. And I detest the crowds. I really do. You see a lot of stuff that you don't want to see when you're fishing, but if you take a 15-minute walk away from the parking lot, you can have good fishing waters right in front of you. And it's for steelhead, it's trout fishing. You look for, riffles and seams, and if you're a good trout fisherman, generally you'll be a good steelhead fisherman. Because they're
called an igneous fish.
Yeah.
I can't see rockfish because back home that's an actual fish. Stripers.
Hey, if he keeps hooking it, we're going to start charging him taxes.
Yeah. He's going to take that rock home with him. How's the just fly fishing in general changed since you've been up here? It's a lot. The two-handed stuff is much bigger.
The two-handed fish is taking off. Two-handed fishing is taking off. You can cover a lot of water spay casting or with a switch rod using spay cast style. There's plenty of opportunities to do that up here, and it's a relatively new thing to the East Coast. You don't see a lot of spay fishermen on the river, but generally the spay fishermen you do see are hardcore fishermen that have done spin fishing and then switched to single head rods and learn to do that because they are effective. I generally, when I'm fishing on my own, I'm swinging flies, using the 2-hand rod, and not because it's more effective. You can cover more water, but it's the hookups are less, and just like any method of steelhead fishing, that's if you hook 2 fish in a day and you land one of those 2, then you had a good day.
Yeah.
Nice bend.
What would make you not want to go fishing? Just ice?
No. This river stays free flowing most of the year, all of the year. You'll get some ice pack along the sides of the river, and obviously, if you're fishing in January and February, it's cold.
You have a secret for de-icing your guides?
Pam works well. Pam cooking spray works well. It kind of makes a little bit of mess of your rod, but nothing that soap and water won't take off. But I think that another thing, I think the people that come in here fishing, they stick with what everyone says. Oh, you got to use egg sacks or you got to use woolly buggers. But if you're a good traditional fly fisherman and you match the hatch, you'll do well on this river because we have stonefly hatches in the middle of winter. Pheasant tails, stoneflies work year round. It's just taking the time to pay attention to your surroundings and actually, matching the hatch. Paying attention to, what the sun's doing, because you'll see little spurts throughout the day. Where if you do go to like the lower fly, which is usually crowded, if the sun comes out on a cloudy day, all of a sudden people will start hooking up around you.
We got kind of a nice haze going on today.
Yeah. It's that time of year for steelhead fishing. And this is usually not a busy spot. There's a couple of drift boats here. And usually there are. This is a good spot to bring clients because it's relatively easy fishing.
Yeah, I've never been down this way. It's pretty. This whole river's just scenic. Get away from the crowds.
Awesome. I love fishing out of. I have a drift boat and I love fishing out of it. The ride alone is worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
You get to see 4 or 5 miles of river in a short day, like 8 hours. Whereas if you were going to walk it, when I'm fishing by shore, I'll stop in a spot and stay there for hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on what's going on. How many times I want to change my fly.
Can you float yourself and just have someone shuttle for you?
There some of the local lodges.
I think we should give him what are you throwing, a streamer?
Yeah. Black blue bucket.
All right. I'm going to
switch to olive. You got an olive? If you don't, I do. Some of the local lodges will shuttle for you. Like if you, we see more and more drift boats every year because it really is the best way to see this river. And I would always recommend that someone take a guide down first.
What are you rowing?
I have a older fish right. They don't make them anymore.
Aluminum?
Yeah, it's aluminum.
That's the one. They don't do well with drunk drivers. They will F your boat up if they hit it going 65.
Yes, they will.
That's after she took out the 4 cars. So, being out here, you've seen the good, the bad. What's not cool? What's bad etiquette for someone that's never been up here and doesn't know how sort of things go?
The bad etiquette.
The salmon season is just
Salmon season is crazy. I mean, there's still, it was 92 when they outlawed snagging on this river, because when they first introduced the salmon, they were getting such a good return that the hatchery raised the limit to 5 fish per person per day, and it was basically a no holds barred fishing from the Pineville Bridge up to the hatchery. Crickets, which are a treble hook with lead.
That's these for snakeheads.
Melded into the hook. Those are illegal now.
How many
thank
people
God.
would just get that stuck in them during the day?
Oh.
It must have just been. You could set up a triage in the parking lot and charge.
It was crazy. Like my French teacher in high school, I graduated from high school in '92 in Pulaski, was EMT and would tell horror stories about people getting hooks caught in their eye, in their face. Using broom handles and wire, trying to snag these fish, and get caught on a rock and give it a good tug. Next thing you know, it's flying back at you at 100 miles an hour, and you're hooked. But they did away with the snagging, and I go to shows every once in a while, and I hear people saying, "Oh, that was the worst thing they ever did." No, it was the best thing they did. Get people away from that mentality that salmon don't bite. Salmon are, they're swimming upstream to spawn, but they'll bite a fly, whether it's out of aggression or the feeding instinct coming from the lake. Yeah, curiosity.
Picking stuff up, moving away from the nest.
Absolutely.
Chasing away stuff from the female.
Yep, being protective of the reds. 50% wild spawning rate is amazing. There's a lot of people, the hatchery is going to reduce their stocking efforts by 20% next year. And there's a lot of people that are, concerned about that. But I think with the natural reproduction going on, it's not going to matter.
Have the stronger fish doing the reproduction, and
exactly.
Eventually you'll get a genetic breed in here that are survivors, and they're built different than derp fish from the hatchery.
Yes, and there was a concern also about the bait fish population in all the Great Lakes. But we've had the best run we've had in 3 years. Just consistent with better than average size fish this year. A couple 30-plus pounders that I've seen.
Mark was saying a guy caught like a 4-foot salmon. It was bigger than, as long as his little client.
Probably.
The guy was rented the room.
Probably. There's been plenty of 30-plus pound fish caught this year. And I've seen some big steelhead too. So that's just natural reproduction. If the bait supply is low, the bigger fish are going to survive. And
more fat on them.
They're more aggressive.
Bigger things.
They're more aggressive. If there's a school of herring, who's going to get the most
Survival
fish?
Of the fittest.
Exactly.
And those are the ones that are going to come in and naturally reproduce and hopefully get more big salmon.
Exactly.
Did you eat the salmon?
I will eat the salmon out of the lake and early season. When it gets late in season, you start seeing we call them mud sharks. You see the white tail swimming through the water, or their back is all white because they look like a skunk. I pass on those.
But they're already self-marinated and broken down.
Yeah, because they're going through a
atrophy.
No, they're going through a change. They stop eating as soon as they enter the river. Their physiology changes. They're on their way to die. Spawn and die. That's all they care about.
Does that influx of biomatter from all their dead bodies make this a better insect and fish stream?
It's a great ecosystem for them.
Plus the tailwater keeps a consistent flow.
Yes. For the most part, it's a very consistent flow. Generally, the average flow all summer is 185 CFS, which they raise to 350 for salmon season, unless we have drought conditions like we had this year, which hurt it a little bit. But down lower in the river, fish, they were still doing well. They were still catching fish on a daily basis. I was down there this fall, and we did well. We caught some big fish. And then they bumped the river up right after Columbus Day weekend on a Sunday, and you could there was just pods and pods of fish coming up. I fished with clients that weekend, and we did well. We had fish in the net by 20 after 7. And fish in front of us all day long. It's an amazing fishery, and even the local people that live in Syracuse, because we're 30 minutes north of Syracuse, don't even know this exists. And as a fisherman, I'd prefer to keep it that way. Yeah. But as a guide, I want to take people out and show them and teach them how to.
It's those people putting podcasts out for people around the world to hear and then show up. Maybe everyone will wear like a button. They said, I heard the podcast, and we're all going to fish together. Have a big line of listeners. Well, a listener party up here next year.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So what about privatization along the stream? Is that happening more now?
Other than Douglas and Salmon Run, not so much. Most of the river has a right of way. So up to 15 foot above the high water mark, you can fish 90% of the river. Douglaston is a pay to fish,
and it's not cheap anymore.
Installment, yeah, it's $75 a day, or you can buy a season pass for I think it's $750, but there's a waiting list.
Wow.
And generally people stay on the waiting list for quite a few years before they get in there. Which. I'm torn, because if clients want to pay the extra money to go to DSR, we'll go to DSR because it's fresh fish right out of the lake.
People can spread out more. It's bigger water down there.
Bigger water. It's more attuned to Montana fly fishing, where it's 30, 40 yard stretches of river with some pockets in there where the salmon will hold. And you can see it when the salmon are starting to run. You can see the fish moving through the area, which is amazing. People, fish their whole lives and never see that. And quite frankly, it's one of my favorite things, is showing them something like that. Something they've never seen before.
Where should we be getting a good lunch or good dinner or breakfast around here these days? Who's got the good food?
Well, there's Tailwater Lodge, which opened a couple years ago, is which is it's a Orvis endorsed lodge. They have excellent fare, excellent accommodations. This year, being their only second year open, they were generally booked right from the start of it. So if you want to go there, book early. But there's plenty of mom and pop Adirondack style lodges around where you can stay, and generally $50 to $70 a night per bed. Nothing fancy, but it's someplace warm to take a shower and put your feet up. As far as meals go, there's a couple of good restaurants in town. We got a Ponderosa, which that's all I'm gonna say about that. There's LD's Ale House in Pulaski, which serves some craft beer on tap, and they have an excellent cook. Not just your normal bar fare. It's homemade, and it's really good. 11 North, which is 2 miles outside of Pulaski to the north, which is also excellent food. All homemade. Then you get the Altmar Hotel, which has great bar food. Great burgers.
They don't have the fries like they used to. Side of fries?
It's not quite as big as it used to be, but they're still fresh cut. And I still don't order a full order because I can't finish them. And there's not a lot, because outside of fishing season, there's not much going on around here. That's generally the economy in this area, but we're 30 minutes from Syracuse.
Go down and get some dinosaur barbecue?
Yeah, dinosaur barbecue. I don't have enough words to express that place. It's delicious.
I got to get a bag of the chips before I go home.
Oh, yeah.
Get dinosaur. We get some of the hot sauces down there, some of the barbecues, but
Yeah, like the
not all.
slathering sauce. And
Yeah.
that's good stuff.
Is that the honey mustard one?
No, it's just like a spicy barbecue sauce.
I can't do the Wango Tango.
Yeah, that's a spicy one.
Yeah, it's real rough. All right, well, I'm getting cold here, so I think I'm going to go start moving around and fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can fish a little bit. You got to take off.
Let's do it. I'm gonna fish. Get some lines in the water, and hopefully we have some action here.
All right. Easiest way for a listener to find you, give you contact.
My phone number is the easiest way to contact me. 315-529-4084. Or, like I said, I got Instagram, Facebook. I have a website. Google Dirty Bill's Guide Service, and one of the three will come up, usually within the top couple searches. Give me a call, and I accommodate. I understand that people aren't always into fly fishing, and I fish all winter. So if you're bored in January or February and you want to sit in the drift boat and we'll float fish for steelhead,
Heck yeah!
by all means. I might even put the heater in the boat.
I like the sounds of that. I can use one right now. I might actually I'm only wearing 2 shirts, so I got to put a fleece on.
Yeah, well, you're a Southern boy.
It's
You're not used to this cold weather when it's like 40 degrees out.
All right, I'm gonna go catch a fish. That's the plan.
All right, Rob.
Right on, dude. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you for joining us for the Fly Fishing Consultant Podcast. For more information or to contact Rob, please go to www.robsnowhite.com.
And if you lack the strength of your own, honey, hold out your hands and take it from an old man.
This has been a production of Freestone Media at freestone-media.com.